This is the part 2 of the Secrets of Transit workshop. And today we are talking about the Gati and Cheshta Bal of the transits. Gati is the speed with which the planets travel. This is most important to understand. And I'll also be addressing retrograde planets and Cheshta Bal, which is a special aspect of the different speeds and qualities of the planets. What you have to understand here is just like individuals, we all walk at a different speed, behave in a different way. And this is not often addressed, and this I want to address. And so, part 2 of the 5 sections of Secrets of Transit is on the Gati and Cheshta Bal of the transits of the planets. Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are continuing with the Secrets of Transits workshop, part 2. Do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. We are talking about the second section about the planets. And so we are continuing with the secrets of the transits, and we are talking the Gati of the planets. Gati is the speed of the planets and how they move. You know, all of us, we have a way of moving. Some of you will walk very fast, very quickly. Some will slow, some will stop and slow. So this Gati is the speed of the planets. But it's more than the speed, it's the whole attitude of the planets. And this photograph I took last year. I'd gone to attend a conference and in Orissa, and there all the Navagrahas were there on the entrance of the temples. And here we have from Surya, all the planets. You can see they are also in their own colors. And this is Jupiter and Venus, Saturn, Sun, Moon, Mars. Mercury is yellow, Venus is Jupiter's green aura but yellow clothes, and Venus, Saturn, Rahu is very fierce, Rahu, and Ketu. You can see Ketu, the snake body is there. And so this Gati of the planets, Gati means speed, motion, or momentum. Understanding the speed of the planets focuses on their behavior. And this is something for you to think about, not just for transits, but otherwise as well. Because each planet behaves in a certain manner. And depending on your ascendant ruler as well, you have a way of behaving, your moon ruler, your sun ruler. So planets are known as grahas, as grahas are those who can cause eclipses. They can take over our mind and eclipse our thinking. So basically, the grahas grip us and they don't allow us to, be natural or normal. And so the gunas and the planetary gati. So there are 3 gunas that we study, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And these are not the gunas of the planets. It is the guna of the way they behave, something different. They are material modes. Even sattva is a material quality, though it takes us to a higher self. The gunas arise out of ahankara. Ahankara is ego and represent Maya's play or illusion. All souls are tied to the guna and not free from them. Each planet has its guna, but also embraces them by transit. So the transit of the planets have a certain, we could say the gati or the transit has a certain guna that we should know. So the movement of planets is rajas by nature. Sorry, just to tell you, sattva is purity, rajas is activity, tamas is laziness, or sattva is higher mind, rajas is desire, I want more, tamas is compromise. And tamas can be sometimes make us go towards our negative self. So, but the movement of the planets is rajas by nature. And actually, all the activity we do is rajas. We are doing things. And so we are creating more and more energy around ourselves. So the movement, gati, causes attachments and creates desire, because rajas creates desire. Rajas is action, but this is not action without desire. So we are doing things because we want something. I want to buy that car. I want that nice new outfit. So I'm creating this specially for you. So Rajas is action, and this is not action without desire. We create movement in our life as we want something. Graha and their gati create the want. Suppose the grahas were not moving at all. There is nothing forcing us to move and to activate ourselves. We must note the unusual movement of these planets as it has karmic significance. So there are three types of gati of the planets. Planets that are always going direct, and there are only two planets that go direct. The direct motion is of luminaries, the sun and the moon. Planets that are always moving retrograde, Rahu Ketu. Rahu Ketu, according to the Vedic system, mean node only moves retrograde. Planets that move forward and backward, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. So the gati can be similar to the gunas. The luminaries move forward only, and that would be sattva, because they're not, they've got a going direct, and but sun is the really only purely sattvic planet. It has a steady motion with a purpose. If we are going to do a workshop next year on 9th of June, the sun will be exactly at the same place at the same time. It's not changing. So it has a totally sattvic energy, a steady motion with which it travels. The moon, due to its speed, can also embody rajas. Even though moon seeks sattva, its movement, waxing, waning, brings more rajas quality. Remember, we are only talking about the transits, the movement of the planets, how they are behaving in movement. Rahu Ketu and their retrograde motion highlights tamas, makes us more attached to our desires and weaknesses. And Rahu Ketu are most important to understand that they can create, what is it? Um, they can make us compromise or deflect off our path of good intentions. They are very disruptive energies. And what I was earlier explaining to Roberto was a positive use of Ketu. You know, there's a positive use of Rahu, positive use of Ketu. But if you are left to, you know, without checking or working with them, they will create tamas, darkness, compromise, deep attachments,
So that's not what we want. We are Jyotishis. We want to understand how to use these planets in a positive manner. And the 5 planets, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, will promote rajas through their transits and create desires. Why do they promote rajas? Because all these planets move forward, backward, forward. They're always in some kind of motion, which is not all steady, not like the sun, and not always going facing forward. So they will create the rajas, tamas. They'll create rajas. So by that activity, they're always thinking, I need to do this, then they'll step back because it's retrograde. So these gatis are very important to know. Then there is another aspect you have to understand about the planets is cheshta. Cheshta is the movement of the planets, and the planets move in 8 different ways. These are part of Cheshta Bal and Shadbal. Shadbal is where the planetary strength is calculated. And Cheshta Bal is very important because planets need to have some energy behind them. And the speeds change, reduce, increase when they're either about to retrograde or combust. The speeds of the planet will double at times when it gets too close to the sun. And I'll show that to you. We are experiencing all that in June this year to understand the movement of the planets. So the Cheshta of the planets, the first one is Vakra, planet which is retrograde but remains in the same sign. So this year, both Jupiter and Saturn will retrograde. Saturn will retrograde in Aquarius, remains in Aquarius. Jupiter will retrograde in Taurus and remains in Taurus. Whereas Mars and Mercury, they will retrograde. Mars will retrograde from Cancer to Gemini, and Mercury, the next Mercury retrograde, I think it's going Leo back to Cancer. So that's the second type of Cheshta, Ati Vakra, retrograde planet which moves back into the previous sign. So we have Vakra, uh, that is retrograde, and Ati Vakra, that means even more retrograde. So then Vikala, planets which are stationary. Now, actually, the classics do not like stationary planets. But in my experience, a stationary planet, if you have in your chart, is very good. But stationary planet by transit is not so easy, and especially the malefic stationary. So the malefic stationary by transits, only 2 planets will be stationary. One is Saturn and the other one is Mars. If we study the mean node, true node, then true node can also, true Rahu Ketu calculation can also be stationary. But Vikala, the stationary, we are getting Saturn stationary this month. On 29th, and it's already stationary, but it's I will show you this whole Cheshta Bal in June 2024. And then we have Manda, slow planets. This can be their natural speed. uh, Jupiter travels slowly, generally Saturn, but and then Mandatara. Mandatara is when planets' speed gradually reduces. This happens before a retrograde. Or slower moving planets, Saturn is the slowest moving planet, is called Mandatara. Actually, Saturn's other name is Manda. He's slow. Because he once he wants to give his message, he's slow and he wants to give that message. Sama, average speed. Sun is the only planet that remains at the same speed. Moon's speed also remains constant. Interestingly, Rahu Ketu does too, but their influences are very different. Then Chara, above average speed, usually happens when planets are close to the sun. So the planets travel a certain distance every day. Their daily motion is not constant. Average distance traveled by planets is like this. Sun travels 59 minutes a day, Moon 1320 a day, one nakshatra a day. Mars 032, Mercury 1 degree 40, Jupiter 5 minutes a day, Venus 1 degree 35, Saturn 2 minutes a day, and Rahu 3 minutes a day. I'm just going 1 week before. So you see now this is 2nd of June. Venus is about to combust with the sun. And on a daily basis, let's see, Venus is traveling 2 degrees, you see. Instead of 1755, it's gone to 1.5 degree. Then it's conjunct the sun next day, and its speed is actually Venus is slow near the sun. And so it's moving, it stayed same degree as the sun. The reason is this, that the sun is also moving. So Venus speed is a bit deceptive. When Venus is moving, the sun is moving alongside it, but Venus is moving. And then if we go to 13th of June, you see here Mercury and Sun are coming together. And then on 14th of June, you see Mercury has gone 2 degrees, 27 to 29, and more than 2 degrees. And 15th, it's gone, see, 2 degrees of Gemini. So Mercury gets most affected, its speed. And those of you who have Virgo Lagna or Gemini Lagna, you will get impacted by this. So your nature or the behavior pattern of your life is fast, suddenly go fast, going quickly, then retrograde, then going forward, backward. So the gati of Gemini and Virgo, Mercury, their ruling planet, is very interesting. Whereas if you are Leo, even like Mexico, which is Leo Lagna, it's not going anywhere. It's got a rhythm to it. Even whatever the issues are there, it's has to do it in its own way, in a Leo kind of way, because they are not going to rush. Now, the next thing to watch is Saturn. So Saturn is at present is going Mandatara, and Vikala. And here we see, and then Vakra. So if we go back 7 days or 15 days, so you see here Saturn is 24 degrees on 1st of June. And then if we go 7th of June, it has only moved from 2434 to 2451. Then 15th of June, it's even gone slower from 2451 to 25.3. And then 21st of June, it's only gone even slower to 25.11. And then 29th of June, only between 25 to 29, it only moved 0.2 minutes. So it's stationary. And on 29th of June, actually, Saturn turns retrograde. It'll show next day the line underneath it at 25:13. So that retrograde means stationary element. Now, if you have a planet at 24, 25 degrees of Saturn, then Saturn is all June was on those degrees. And then if we go further to July, Saturn is not moving very fast. So this is 1 week into July. It hasn't moved much at all. It's gone 25-10, then 25-2. So it takes almost a month for Saturn to start moving. It's like a juggernaut, it's stuck there, it's not moving. And so these cheshtas of a planet are very important to understand how a planet is actually behaving, how he's moving, and what to consider. And they will affect us. In fact, this month, Saturn being retrograde or stationary almost in June, is that a lot of underlying things are not working. So many things that we are trying to get, projects we are trying to do, or things we are trying to sort out, they are not really working at this stage. So then we come to the next step in this journey is the retrogrades. Because when you're watching the transits, you must watch the retrograde. And remember that the retrogrades are the ones that are adding to the desires, to the rajas, because we are doing something, we move back, then we do something again. So in the retrograde, the sun, moon never retrograde. Rahu Ketu always move in a retrograde motion. Saturn retrogrades for 140 days, remains stationary 5 days before and after. So stationary is called Vikala. It's not moving anywhere. Jupiter retrogrades 120 days, is stationary 5 days before and after. Mars retrogrades 80 days, is stationary 3 to 4 days before and after. Venus retrogrades 42 days, is stationary 2 days before and after. Mercury retrogrades 24 days, is stationary 1 day before and after. Now, whenever Venus goes retrograde, what I've noticed is that it doesn't start moving very quickly. Last year, 2023, Venus was retrograde. 2022, Venus, early 2022, it didn't move at all. And after it going direct, so it takes a long time for Venus to get back to its rhythm, and the rhythm is the gati. So once it retrogrades, there is a time that it takes, and each planet has its own percentage of time when it must retrograde. Saturn 36.39, Jupiter 30.24, Mercury 19.76, Mars 9.33, Venus 7.22. Saturn, Jupiter retrograde once a year. Mercury at least 3 times a year. Sometimes you will see Mercury retrograding 4 times a year. Venus, Mars once every 2 years. Now, in 2024, we are going to get a Mars retrograde. It's going to start in December, and then it will start in Cancer, retrograde back to Gemini, then come back to Cancer. Mars is doing something pretty weird this year. Right now, it's very good. It's in Aries, but it is going to go into Gemini, and it is it's going to Taurus and Gemini around August. And then it stays in Gemini, Cancer for a long time, almost till middle of the year 2025. So that is because Mars is going to retrograde, and wherever it retrogrades, it stays for a longer time. And, when we are watching planets, we are always watching some kind of oddball behavior of the planets. So Sun is Sama, constant. It is one planet whose behavior speed is always the same. I would say you can rely on the Sun. However, we have shorter and longer days. The sun travels approximately 1 degree a day. However, it always has the same behavior pattern. It rises in the morning, sets in the evening daily. It is sattvic by nature. It will not disturb the mind. Sun shines on everybody. We should follow the nature of the sun to bring light to us. You see, sun is regarded as the living soul, and it is also the living God, because the sun is visible to all of us. And daily we see the constant nature of the sun. And if we want to do, think about our lifestyle choices, we want to think about the sun's, how to improve our life, we can follow the sun, to have some kind of uh, plan of action during the day, when we eat, when we sleep, uh, follow the sun really. And also the sattva, it is going to um, shine on everybody. So this, we are looking at not the egoistical sun, but the spiritual sun. And the important thing about the sun is that he's the living light to us. So we have to recognize that. And although sun is moving in the same motion, it is not really uh, adding to our desire element, except at the time when there are challenging conjunctions to the sun. Moon nature is given as sattvic, but his transit is pure rajas. It waxes and wanes, travels through each time at the fastest speed in 2.5 days, moves through one nakshatra a day. These movements bring desire, attachment, changing focus of life. The sattvic quality of the moon would be its speed that remains constant. Despite its speed and phases, the moon does not retrograde. But you see, in uh, the Vedic thought, the moon is the planet we most want to regulate and manage. We don't want to change him, but the fact that you have a new moon and a full moon and different nakshatra every day, different desires every day, moon's pure nature gets disguised. So our mind, its purity gets disguised by its erratic waxing, waning, conjuncting with all the planets in a month. You'll get moon with Saturn, with Rahu, with Ketu, with Mars, everything in a month. So therefore, trying to regulate our mind through our lifestyle choices, through being more like the sun, because the moon is receiving its light from the sun. So this is something for you to think about. Mars travels 32 degrees, minutes, not degrees, daily. It retrogrades once every 2 years, combusts yearly. Combust means it comes close to the sun. During its combustion, it will be moving faster. During and before retrograde, it slows down, changes direction. All these behavior patterns need to be observed. Mars element is very volatile fire. And when it is traveling at unusual speeds, it will add to the volatility of fire-related aspects, anger, frustration, and violence. You see, right now, Mars is in Aries. He's in comfort zone. He's happy. He's not trying to be anything different. But when Mars is too close to the sun, it's about to retrograde. It's Mars-Saturn conjunction in April, what we've already had this year. Anything to do with Mars, think about fire and think about how um, volatile it is. So that is most important to understand. Jupiter is slow moving, Manda by speed, it travels 5 minutes a day. He will retrograde 4 monthly, yearly. It is said that Saturn walks like an elephant, slow and ponderous. So actually, sorry, it is said Jupiter walks like an elephant, slow and ponderous. Actually, Jupiter's planet or deity is the elephant. So he rides the elephant. So Jupiter is very kind of slow. He's just walking. This is his natural behavior, taking time to weigh up knowledge, disperse wisdom. However, when he's about to go retrograde, he becomes even slow, changes direction. These are the times to watch. This year, Jupiter remains in Taurus all year in 2024. It's not having any difficult conjunctions. It's already done its combustion, but because he's the wisdom planet, what Jupiter by his gati, by his speed, is saying that be slow and steady with your thought process. Don't rush into anything. Don't think, oh, I should quickly decide this. No, there's no rush. Think it through, weigh up your knowledge, disperse wisdom. Jupiter combusts once a year. During combustion, he speeds up. This can be a time we can take risks, make wrong choices. So it is vital to watch these times. Venus is fast-moving planet. It travels 1 degree 35 a day, stays in a sign for approximately 25 days. It retrogrades once every 2 years for 40 days. It is a planet that has least time of retrograde. So when Venus is retrograde, it is the rarest of rare transits. We need to watch the speeds around retrograde. It becomes very slow for several weeks before and after retrograde, promotes unusual behavior. Venus will combust once a year when it speeds up. Now, this point I already made, that, Venus, when it's about to retrograde, and it'll do so in 2025, not this year, it goes very slow. And then it will retrograde. Then when it's going forward, it's very slow. So it doesn't move a lot. It's only I've noticed that with Venus and of course Saturn, which I explained to you. We have to see that energy. Otherwise, Venus and stay close to the sun mostly. Saturn is known as Mandatara, extremely slow moving. He travels 2 minutes a day. His influence is slow and relentless. You could say ponderous, he's carrying on, creating this difficulty. We need to watch his movement near the retrograde when he slows down even more and becomes stationary, bringing life to a standstill, increasing the intensity of his pressure. Saturn retrogrades once a year. So we are right now waiting for Saturn to retrograde. And of course, if you're Capricorn and Aquarius Lagna, you will feel that a lot. But all of us, some things getting pulled back. I find when Saturn is about to turn retrograde, I always think, what should I focus on? And I try to focus on some work and try to get it done. But some projects can just not get done. So I leave them and wait till Saturn has started its movement. Saturn is combusted once a year when he becomes faster, therefore contrary to his nature. This can increase anger, frustration, encourage impulsiveness born out of irritation. So what you see in the planetary behavior is that Jupiter, Saturn, they take their time. Jupiter is the wisdom planet, Saturn is the karmic planet. But Saturn also teaches us wisdom through effort. And so Saturn's aspect is equally important for Saturn and Jupiter, the two slow moving planets. Rahu Ketu, also slow moving, move 3 minutes a day. Their influence is secret and not so obvious daily. However, when they reveal themselves 4 times a day during eclipses. So what is happening with Rahu Ketu is that they are secretly doing things, and they are also creating illusion to us that this is going to happen, and sometimes they are hiding themselves so we don't know what is happening. We are in denial of the situation. But generally, of Rahu, oh, so it's saying Saturn here, but it should say Rahu. I never noticed that. But generally, uh, Rahu transit is easier to manage. Ketu transit is more challenging. And right now, we have the Ketu transit that we are dealing with at this stage. And this is why if you are Virgo ascendant, then you are having a Virgo moon or Virgo sun, you are feeling the most difficult aspect of the this Rahu Ketu transit, because they are the ones who are creating difficulty at this stage. So